Hi, and welcome to the series. It's 2026, and the conversation has shifted. It's no longer about having a backup. It's about how quickly you can return to business operations when everything comes to a halt. We're here to explore the partnership between HPE and Veeam. Our focus has moved beyond outdated legacy obstacles. Now the emphasis is on genuine, streamlined, and high-speed resiliency that meet the demands of the modern world. Today, data is expanding at an unprecedented rate, spreading across a variety of environments from on-premise clusters through to extensive archives in both private and public cloud platforms. However, as the data environments become more complex, the challenge of recovery grows. In this landscape, complexity is in fact the real enemy of effective recovery. That's why we have concentrated on achieving a zero-friction integration. In this episode, we'll begin with an overview of what's possible when combining the HPE and Veeam technologies. In the episodes to follow, we will break down the architecture step by step, clearly demonstrating how we have simplified the journey to a fully recovered production environment. There's no fluff here. We won't be relying on endless slides. Instead, we'll give you a straightforward look at the architecture that allows you to rest easy at night. With that, let's begin exploring the possibilities. Over to you, Chris.
Yeah, so you can see right here in the first part that we've defined here for private cloud. This is a good place to start to show the crossover for the HPE and Veeam messaging, because one of the challenges that you described there, Kevin, was to address the infrastructure complexity challenge. And this is what HPE does with their private cloud offerings. And then, subsequently, that's what Veeam in those same environments, talking about protecting data no matter where it lives. That's where the messaging does cross over quite well in this conversation. That HPE is solving the infrastructure problem. Veeam is solving the data protection problem across all that complexity. Just to go into a little bit of detail about what HPE is doing today for their private cloud offerings, they do have private cloud AI, or what they're calling AI factories. These are turnkey, mostly turnkey delivery of a rack that I would call AI in a box. It's a full stack delivery of an AI solution, which includes the hardware and all the software that you need for a customer to get started in that space. I say mostly because they do have professional services engagements, which you'll see there at the bottom of the box there. That if a customer doesn't fit cleanly into that private cloud AI offering, then they can obviously build their own with HP professional services and solutions engineering. For Private Cloud Business Edition, that would be a mostly targeted, I would say, to mid-level commercial and smaller customers. The Electra MP B10000, which is in their DHCI offering, and it could also be SimpliVity. And then the hypervisor that they're leading with in these engagements is the HVM hypervisor, which is part of the VM Essentials control plane, which we'll talk about next. But just to cover off this piece before we move on to Veeam integrations and collaborative testing that we've done with HPE, there is the private cloud enterprise offering as well, and this would be a larger services-led engagement that a customer might have with HPE to assemble really anything the customer needs. There could be anything that HPE sells. The customer is going to HPE and literally asking for anything that they sell to be put together. A custom architecture design in a professional services engagement, to make something specifically for the customer. And of course, all this can be purchased in a GreenLake model where you can either just purchase it outright or engage in a pay-as-you-go model with GreenLake. So there's lots of offerings there that HPE is leading with today. And traditionally, this is where the seller would come into the customer environment, and they're not so much talking about speeds and feeds and hardware now, right? They're having that discussion with the customer and trying to identify challenges and pain points, and they're leading with one of these HPE offerings. And at the end of that discussion, typically, just talking traditionally, you would tag Veeam onto the end of that discussion. Almost as you're going through a McDonald's drive-through, and they ask you, "Oh, do you want fries with that?" You might do the same with data protection. Oh, would you like to also protect this data? But I think that the messaging, even with HPE, has progressed beyond that point. Veeam has been saying this for years, that you need to build the data protection strategy into the initial sell. But I think HPE has also recognized that as well, that the value of the enterprise is in the data. And we have lots of Veeam integrations and collaborative testing that add value to the conversation. We have the recent acquisition of Security AI that that directly relates to private cloud AI in HPE's portfolio to give you clean AI data pipelines. We just released the Veeam Data Platform version 13 at the end of 2025. So there's lots to talk about there, about extra security features that we added, the Veeam software appliance. Uh, Linux support obviously came along with that Veeam software appliance. Of course, if you're running containers in your environment, then Veeam Kasten is still available to protect those. And then everyone's asking about the functionality of our HPE Morpheus VM Essentials support, which also includes support for the HVM hypervisor and Morpheus Enterprise. So there's lots of reasons to include Veeam in that initial conversation when you're initially choosing one of these private cloud offerings.
And of course, Christopher, when we create our backups, our secure, our reliable, our guaranteed recoverable backups, we have to send them somewhere. HPE have a great portfolio and repository choices. I've done a number of sessions over the years on picking these, and we will be going into more detail on each of the repository choices in future episodes. But if you could walk us through the repository options that people can place within the enterprise architectures, whether that be Private Cloud AI Business Edition or Private Cloud Enterprise.
Yeah, so as we progress from left to right on this picture here, we're talking about starting out the HPE solution. We're talking about including Veeam in that conversation from the beginning, and then at the end, you see, build out the infrastructure. Now, a lot of those choices may be made for you, and that's why I say, instead of starting with the hardware as the initial conversation, the hardware is, a lot of those choices may have already been made for you as when you choose the HPE offering. I like to joke that no customer gets up in the morning and decides to buy a HPE primary storage array because Veeam has all these great integrations with it. They're making those decisions for other reasons. But it is relevant, though, that when you buy the primary storage with HPE, we do have integrations there that matter, and they make us relevant to that conversation. But you'll see the other three choices there on the right, with the store once being the aggressive data reduction, the X10000, which has a couple of use cases. You could pair that with a data protection accelerator node, which would give you all the Catalyst goodness that you get with store once. Or you could go to the X10000 directly with the S3 protocol to target that as maybe a high performance S3 storage array. Think about AI use cases. You may want an X10000 in your environment for that. In fact, that is very likely built into that private cloud AI environment, and that's why I say some of these choices may already be made for you because of the HPE offering that you've chosen. And then finally, in this picture, you see the HPE storage servers, which have been popular with customers for a long time because they're easy to understand and easy to pitch to your management who are actually spending the money in your organization, right? So a data center manager, he needs to understand the value of these of any potential purchases that you're making in the data center. And these are easy to explain. You put one in the rack, you fill it up, you put another one in the rack. They're literally seen as building blocks or Legos in the environment. Um, the Just to give you a little bit of detail on usable space for the storage servers, if you have an Electra 4140, that comes with approximately a petabyte of usable space. So it's quite a bit of space you get in a 4U of your rack.
So hopefully, thank you, Christopher. Hopefully, the overview of the combined technology between HP and Veeam have been useful as an introduction into in this first episode of the series. Hopefully, you found it useful. As I said, please look out for future episodes in this series, and hopefully, you'll find those useful too. Thank you.